presents the #1 late night talk show in the entire metaverse. Covering everything you need to know in the night's realm. You're watching The Night Shift. And now, your host, Chigoman Porto and the Knights of Degen.
Oh, how you doing, guys? I'm stoked. All right, look, I got to tell you. Originally, we had this scheduled for another date, right? And then it was like we had some conflicts, and option one was, we push it. Option two was we just switch it to Thursday night today so we can talk, because I am so excited to nerd out. Look, you guys know me. I have no shame. I have no problem admitting that I have been VBA crazy. I'm working on this laptop over here. I'm on my phone over here checking VBA scores. I'm over here looking at the MJ graphics, trying to pull up all the info, but so excited to jump in. We got Charles Liu, the CEO of VBA, hanging out with us tonight. I believe John Lee's going to stop by. We've had him on before. He came and hung out with us when we started picking out some players. I got to talk to these guys, because the original plan was, we're going to start off with 5 guys. Here we are 3 weeks later. We've got like 27 guys. We've got 5 teams. I've got such a bond with our players. It's freaking ridiculous. All right. We're going to talk about this stuff. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Charles up. Charles, how you doing?
Hey, man. How's it going? Thanks so much for having me. And thanks for accommodating on Wednesday, man. I have this nightly Wednesday night basketball run. So I appreciate you letting me go play and then come on tonight instead.
Look, you don't even have to thank me, all right? When you sent the message, and the message was, I have to play basketball, that was all the excuse I needed, bro. If the guy that's creating the game that I'm in love with right now is telling me I have to go play basketball, please take it. I am happy to move things around, man. But thanks for making time to hang out. I've got so much I want to jump into with the VBA. I don't do the whole, let's get real technical here and try to figure out your life story. We don't need to do all that tonight, all right?
Okay.
But I want to kind of get behind the story of VBA, and I think we got Mr. John Lee backstage. Let's bring him up here too. What's up, John?
What's up? How's it going?
Good.
John, you the office. That's our office, by the way, man. Check it out. It's pretty nice. We'll give him a quick tour. It's a little box, but you can show him the office, John.
Nice, dude. So only one stuck at the office. Look at that. That's commitment. Cheers. Cheers, John. That's beautiful.
Cheers.
Charles, man, I'll start with you. How did this all come together, man? Like, just the vision of VBA. If you can start there with me a little bit, I'd love to know, man.
Yeah. So been a huge basketball fan my whole life. Been in love with the sport. I think ever since I was a kid. I think the first basketball game I ever went and saw was a KG Yao Ming game. I'm from Minnesota, by the way. And we sat in the nosebleed seats. And at that point, I remember just watching Yao and KG go head to head in like 2005, and was just like, this sport I am like crazy about. And at this point, I'm like in 3rd or 4th grade, like kind of chubby, not very good at basketball. But I think like the next day or something, at least I tell the story this way, like my dad signs me up for like this 3rd grade league. And ever since then, I've just been like the biggest fan of basketball. Grew up playing like NBA 2K with all my buddies in high school. We used to play this like GM mode. I think a lot of you guys are probably familiar with like the 2K, like my GM mode, where you manage a team.
Right.
And through high school, I like swear to you, like we would play almost every single night, like me and my guy friends. And we would sim into like 2050, 2060, 2070. Yeah. Like all the people would be fake. Like my team would no longer be like the Minnesota Timberwolves. We would be like the Mexico City, like
the right way to do it. Relocate everybody.
We would relocate, move into a bigger market, try to get some more customers. And, we were basically living in the basketball metaverse before the metaverse was a thing. Like we were talking about these fake guys at lunch. They're like, I have this like guy from Eastern Europe. Like, what do you have on your team? And we would talk about this. And this had always been in the back of my mind as like, my dream would be to one day start something of this passion of mine, which is basketball. But the right opportunity never really came by. And I think like a lot of folks in KOD, like 2021, early 2021 was just like really inspired by Zedrun actually, and was seeing people pick up these horses, taking them really seriously, building like brands and identities around the product. And when I saw that happening, it really clicked to me. It's like, is there a way to turn this like childhood experience that I really loved and take something that like me and my like older friends do now is like we play a ton of fantasy sports and say, is there a world in which we can take some of this like unique ownership that exists with Web3, right? Mix it with like this sort of casual, like adult, like skill-based contest that like is fantasy sports and DFS with this like childhood experience that we really loved, which was like playing NBA 2K. And that's how VBA was formed. What's also funny, actually, now that we have John here, is I think in November of 2021, I met John for the first time at this like dinner. We're both ex-Facebook. And I remember sitting across from him, and to my right is this woman named Deb Liu, who is like now the CEO of like Ancestry. And normally I think I would have been like all over just trying to like pick her brain, trying to learn about like, how can I be like a good leader? How can I build good tech products? But I sat across from John, and John was like, yo, I'm working at Zedrun. And I spent the entire dinner just like peppering him with questions about like how like his experience there, like how to think about game design. And, we kicked it off from there. And I'm just glad that like we're able to work together now on the vision that is VBA.
Man, that's awesome. And John, I got to say, I mean, I remember last time we had you on the show for a little bit. I'm always so jealous of your hair, bro. Like, I'm just hoping
I mean, I see some
back
hair. It looks like it's by choice. No.
It is, but that's also because I probably don't want to find out how bad it is on its own at this point, So, all right, sorry, off topic.
Appreciate that.
I definitely need some hair tips from John as well. I've been told I have like the just got out of bed hair look always, so definitely upgrade that at some point as well.
Well, every time I've decided, I was like, I'm gonna let it grow. Every time I've done it, I get to that chia pet stage, and I'm like, yeah, I can't, and that's it. I take it off. I can't commit to it. So you guys end up meeting at the dinner. You start talking Zedrun. John, did you look at this guy like, all right, these are a lot of questions? I mean, what was going through your mind when you guys first started talking?
No, I mean, those meetups are awesome, because that's when you get to meet people that were colleagues or still colleagues, and just trying to find like-minded people, trying to explore and figure out what they can do with Web3 and other innovative technologies. It's not all just Web3 at these, at these meetups, but that was awesome. Like meeting Charles there, I went over to try to work in Web3 and eventually joined Zed because I wanted to just throw myself in the deep end and just see what's it like building product with this new layer of technology. And I think over the past year, we've all learned a lot about what works, what doesn't work, and being able to come work on the VBA with a bunch of different learnings, both good and bad. It has been really, really fun, and it just hasn't really felt like work, and every day we just get to dream up what we can do that'll be fun for the players, and it's been a dream.
That's awesome. So, I mean, we're in beta, right? Let's kind of talk about how things have been going so far, Charles. I mean, seems like the response has been great from where I'm standing, right? Maybe because I'm completely like addicted, but for you guys, I mean, how are you feeling so far with how things have been going?
I'm feeling great. So this, as a small clarification, we like to call it the season 0 alpha because I think we're going to reserve the beta tag. We're going to reserve the beta tag probably for season 1.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
We do this thing progressively, but the response has been better than I could have asked for. I think when I first started this, and I really wanted to make sure that like a strong community would form around the product. And the two things that have really stuck out to me and what I've really loved so far is the number of people who are just building tools on top of it, like MJ, Michael Young, like Soul Barons, and a couple of these guys are just like going ham on our API. And I love to see that because, they're creating value for other people on top of our game. Yeah. And the second thing is streamers like yourself, like Prospect Huddle, like B-Town, a lot of these people out here are streaming, like talking about it, providing tips. And that's something that I've always been really excited about is, we have early signs of product market fit with this as a game when, people start to take it seriously and try to create their own brands and IP on top of it. When you guys created the Conan O'Duncan thing, I was like beyond happy with that. That's something that I always wanted people to do, is just to create some brands and identities of people. And so I'm really happy with the Conan O'Duncan guy.
I have a feeling Conan O'Brien's probably not too happy how many times Conan's tagging him, with tickets at will call, but whatever. We'll deal with that down the road.
Well, Conan O'Duncan is certainly fantastic at basketball. So maybe Conan O'Brien can learn a thing or two from it.
There we go. Tell him, Charles. Tell him. It's funny that you bring up MJ because, me personally, I jump in his little show that they started, which I thought is pretty fun. Especially from an analytics side and kind of looking at the market. And, me and the front office, we all got together. We may or may not have put an offer in front of him to try to hire him as our head scout for VBA. So, we're in talks. Okay. I figured he might be the best guy to be a scout.
Yeah. I mean, his tools are fantastic. I was playing around with the new one with the matchups earlier because I use his stuff, man. Like, I'm trying to compete with you guys and trying to put together a good team and stuff. So I was using it the other night. I was like, wow, like this is fantastic.
Yeah, it really has helped a lot. Well, you know what? Since you brought it up, for people in the chat that haven't seen, this is Conan O'Duncan, and I brought some of his highlights out. His Twitter account's going crazy. I mean, this one here, what VBA has brought to the ecosystem is truly exciting. Being a star player for the Knights of Degen is a dream come true. This has been a lot of fun for us at the Knights of Degen, right? The fact that it started with this one, and now we're seeing the rivalry starting to happen and other teams commenting and posting and talking crap. We had Jason Wright in the chat who had a player called Eddie Cheese, something Cheese. And big old post came out where he had a beeper and said, call the doctors. He's about to lose his leg. He's going to need emergency. And, it was great because the crap talking going back and forth. And then we ended up acquiring his player and brought him to the Knights of Degen and made it a, game recognizes game. Do you see things like this catching on now with the VBA? Do you feel more people will start getting engaged with having like these accounts and things like that?
This is something that, and I'll let John talk on this as well, but this is something that I've been always really passionate about is, we set out to create this new IP on our own, right? Like there's a fork in the road where you're like, okay, do we want to just take the NBA IP and build a universe on top of it? Or do we want to build our own universe? And something that I always felt really strongly about in the beginning is if we're taking the NBA IP, we'll always be second to them in that, like the real LeBron James will always be better than the VBA LeBron James. And something that Web3 has proven so far is that, the power of community to create unique IPs, whether it be through a lot of the Bored Ape stuff, whether it be through like people taking on like CryptoPunk 5887 as their like identity, you're seeing this happen a lot in Web3. And so, we're going to be pushing more initiatives on our side to support the world building. There may or may not be a commissioner coming out soon and things like this. And, we really hope that, the GMs in the community really like latch onto this and create these teams and these brands around these people.
That's awesome. That really is. So, and while I have you guys, I do obviously want to ask like some specific game questions as well as we're going along the conversation. But like, for instance, with the fact right now in season 0, I remembered, we can change names. Is that something that at any point that's going to get locked? Like a player's name, once it's locked, is going to stay that way and you're not able to change them all the time?
John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I can try to take it. We don't really have any plans to lock it or anything like that. It's easy enough for us to support the power to edit it. Maybe we'll consider some sort of premium. Maybe you'll have to pay dimes to edit or whatnot. But we don't really have any plans to that nature yet. I guess some of our goals are to give players as much autonomy around what they do with their players. And we'll worry about the kind of the details and the frameworks later, right? Because I wish we can get into all the details of what we're working on in the next like month and a half, but just can't wait for everyone to see what we're doing and coming out with. And I hope as that happens, it'll become clear like why we can't really think about all of these like small details
right.
At the moment. But it is definitely something that we also kind of look at how the community talks about these kind of things in the Discord and on streams and whatnot. And it gives us ideas as well. And we're always talking in the office around the viability of some features that, were suggested, and, whether this would be fun, interacting with that other feature and whatnot. And very fluid kind of process. And so we just really, really appreciate all the conversation happening.
That's awesome. Yeah, and feel free, John. I mean, at any point, if you want to drop any spoilers, it's a safe place here. All right, just go right ahead.
John is much better at keeping a closed lip than I am on these things.
All right, John, thanks for stopping by, man. Good seeing you.
I think they look at me and they're like, all right, if I don't want to spoil it because I don't know what I can and cannot spoil, but if Charles spoils it, it's okay.
Yeah, we have one of those. It's called Drew Austin. All right. You get Drew Austin talking late night on a show. That's it. Everybody gets every spoiler in the world.
We'll do some drinks next time. And
there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how you said next time. All right. All right.
You already got it this time. I got water at 6 o'clock in the West Coast. We got more work to do after
all right.
this.
That's true. That's true. All right. So right now in season 0, is there a count of how many people we actually have in the gameplay? Because I know, I mean, obviously the players wise, I mean, there's guys that have like 99 players and there's guys that have like 50, and we're up to like 26 now. But actual unique players, do we have a roundabout number for that?
Of the GMs or the player?
Yeah, the GMs.
So we started off week 1 with about 500, and for the past month or so, we've been hovering around 650 to 700 on a given week so far. Retention has been like really strong. Like people who have played for like 30 days, like people stick around for like 80% of people stick around for like over a month, which is, I don't know if people talk about tech metrics, probably shouldn't talk about tech metrics too much, but on that perspective, it's very high.
No, I mean, that's definitely great. I mean, we felt like it was one of those when we bought our first 5 guys, right? Was let's give it a shot. It looks fun. And once we were in there, I mean, that's it. Like we're hooked. I mean, literally we're up to what, 5 teams now at this point? I mean,
5 teams.
Yeah. I mean, we're literally rolling 5 teams, and constantly adjusting who's better with who, trying to see what position or what, style works best with each other. I would love, if you guys want to give any insight on what strategies seem to be working best. I can't look. I like the tools the guys are making, but I can't trust them because they're running their own teams. All right. So I feel like coming from them, I might be misled a little bit. Are there specific type of combos that you guys are seeing really work or that people are kind of running with?
Do you want to talk about one of these teams, pull one up and talk about, I can talk about my team and how I'm thinking about it, if that's helpful. I think we're
that'd be great.
Team, right? I think Grape Gaming, they're my arch rival, basically. I think they're consistently the first team. But the way that we built our team is, and I say we as in like myself, is I have like a 10-person basically rotation. And this basically consists of like players who I think are must plays every game, and then players who are like situational based off of who I matched up against. So the people who I think are must plays are my pass first guard, point god, spelled Gawd, because I don't know, maybe he's from Boston or something, but he's point god. Right. Not the regular kind of god, but that's the kind of way he does it. He's good for like 20 and 20 every night on points and assists. So you can't pass that up just because he's going to be sharing the ball every night. Yes. And my stretch big, which I named Stretch Marks, inspired by the Stretch Mark 5 Nikola Jokic himself. But that guy's good for 20 and 10. So I found the 2 staples of my team, right? The guy who's going to be passing the ball and the guy who's going to be getting 20 and 10. And based off of the matchup now, I usually pick the rest of the pieces. And those pieces generally are like my defensive guys, like my rim protector, my versatile forward. And then on the outside, basically having that shooting option available. So I have a shooting playmaker and a pure shooter that I'll tend to rotate in and out as well. I used to play my namesake player. I named a guy after myself, Charles. But ever since people started keying in on him, everybody always plays interior defense on me now. He's basically seen no playing time. He's got to develop an outside game before he comes back on the court. So he's in the doghouse with the coach.
He's been demoted.
He's gonna go do a farm team for a little bit and work on his jump shot. Maybe he turns out to be Ben Simmons and never develops one. Maybe he does get one.
There we go.
But yeah, that's sort of how I've been thinking about my team so far.
John, are you running your own team as well, or?
Yeah. My team is kind of like the anti-meta team. I don't know if anyone else is running a team like mine. Like I have a pass first point guard and also 2 point forwards. So it's a very ball sharing heavy team.
Wow.
And I also have a rim protector for the inside defense, and then a 3-and-D wing, who is probably the worst player on my team. And 3-and-D wings at the moment haven't seen a lot of success on the court in general, I think. But I think that might be because we haven't figured out as a collective the best way to use them. So we'll see what I can figure out there. I do have a few players on the bench that I haven't used yet. But we'll see what adjustments I can make.
You need some outside shooting, man, on your team. You got all these guys who are scoring inside, but no outside shooting.
Most of my wins are from the inside. So it's kind of worked so far. I'm kind of at the cusp between intermediate and competitive. So I think a number of our team members, VBA team members, that are right around that cusp as well. So everyone's trying to make it into competitive.
Yeah. So everybody on the team actually has a team. Everybody on the VBA team has a team, but we're only allowed one. So basically everybo's out in the office trying to talk. We're making trades. Like me and Eddie, who's one of our blockchain engineers. He's the Kowloon Kismets. But we make trades all the time. We literally made a trade yesterday, and then he proceeded to beat me with one of the players I traded him. That's the revenge game.
That sucks.
And I was just like, come on, man. You're just doing me dirty at that point.
Well, you got Peter Hollins in the chat who said, thank God you aren't allowed 10, Charles. And then we got Jason Wright. Has any player made a half-court shot yet? I don't think I've seen any text that says half-court shot. I love the cookies, by the way. How you doing? All right. Every time I see that pop up as a thing when you get swiped, love it. So
I don't think we have a half-court shot as a play. Do we, John?
It'd be interesting to add.
We do. We have like a chuck it up rule, which is like the players will chuck it up at the end of like a quarter or a half, but I don't think it registers as like a half court shot.
Oh, makes sense. All right. So
it might just register as a regular three.
Yeah. You mentioned you guys are doing trades and stuff amongst yourself. Are you guys seeing a lot of that right now amongst the GMs in there? A lot of trades going on behind the scenes. I mean, Zook thinks he's Leon Rose at this point. This man's calling like every other GM, trying to cut deals and trades. We've been fortunate to work out some really good ones. Is that kind of across the board you're seeing that happen?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of trade action happen outside of marketplaces, which has been quite surprising. And the part that I've been most surprised of is just like the trust in the GM community is like, you know, I see that somebody else is a verified GM, and I just have this inherent trust that if I send you a player to your wallet, you're going to send the player back to me, which I think is like unheard of in crypto.
It really is. It's like, hey, transfer this guy. I'm like, okay, and we just do it. I mean,
I like really want to just issue more warnings and be like, hey, not to be like the spoiler of fun here, but like know that in Web3, like it's important to be safe with your assets.
So before I pull, I'll pull up our Knights of Degen team for us to kind of look together.
Oh, this is fun.
But I want to ask you guys each for an answer on this one. What is your favorite piece so far in season 0? Like, is there a specific type of attribute you like or a style? Like, just what is your favorite piece right now with the game? You want to start? Oh, John's looking off.
John, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it if you have something. Yeah.
If it's a player thing or a product feature, I have like favorite product features too. But my favorite play style right now, that I'll tell you what, this is my favorite that I discovered, and maybe this is for people who are listening, like some alpha here, is my pass first guard that I actually loaned to Jeff, who's our director of marketing, for like a month, and then asked back because we were just struggling, is now my favorite player. And what I discovered about him is that, like, he just elevates everybody else on my team by just distributing the ball well. But I found that like because nobody is passing him the ball, he was struggling to score. He was shooting like 30%. And then I started playing him with a point forward who was also like a pass for like sort of distributor type of player. And I've started to see him put in more like 20-point. Like I think I saw him throw a 30-point game almost, and was like, oh, I kind of like this idea of playing like a playmaker and a half or two playmakers because they're going to share the ball with each other and make the overall team better and more successful. So that's been one of my favorite discoveries with the game so far.
That's a good one.
Nice.
I don't think I have anything as good as that.
So you guys are looking for something to try out in your lineups. Maybe you try a playmaker or two playmakers or a playmaker and a half in this next upcoming
that's
game.
That's a good
clock tonight.
That's a good general tip where, you know, we're always thinking about what makes basketball sense, and we're gonna have that game engine that we program, right, and tweak. But there's always going to be some combinations that that people should be trying, right? Because you never know what's really going to happen. Like if you were to play two slashers, how will they play off each other? I don't even really know the answer to that personally, but to Charles' point, playing two passers can also, you know, someone might think, well, if I have more than one playmaker on a team, like why would I have more than one playmaker if I have Chris Paul, right? But it might actually work. You never really know. So I think it's a good idea to try some combos that you don't expect.
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking for the Knights Degen, you know, we had the one that was supposed to be our feeder team this week, and we called them the Jesters of Degen. And they were supposed to literally be our test team. And then they went 5-0. And we're like, what kind of, these were supposed to be our scrubs that we thought were our scrubs. So we took what we thought was our five and we put them together and they started outperforming our Steve's team. We're like, so then of course it just has all of us getting together like, okay, let's try something different. Let's try 3 shooters and a big. And it's crazy how you're consistently wanting, especially for us, like, we're having meetings around this stuff, guys. Like we have a committee built around the teams. We're having like the worst is when I sit there and tell my wife, and she's in the chat, so she's gonna call me out. Is when I'm like, babe, it's just gonna be a 30-minute meeting with the guys. It's a VBA meeting. You know, it is work. I'm just saying it's work. And it takes 2 hours later. And she's like, are you done? I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been doing this for 2 hours, guys. Like, we got to call it a night. That's it. And then somehow we wake up in the morning and it's still like, are we sure we want to make that move? Are we sure we want this guy here? So I love the fact that trying out all those different chemistries really does make a difference because we're finding, well, let me put it this way. Conan O'Duncan will never leave the Knights of Degen team. All right. That is my guy forever. I will quit the committee if Conan O'Duncan gets moved. All right, so here, guys, I'm going to pull it up.
Welcome to the front office. Welcome to the front office. That's the experience. People are staying up late trying to think about the right moves. They're sweating for the next matchup.
Yeah, I swear to you, we went into this week saying, let's let all the teams ride for the week. Let's see how it goes. It was 3 games in, and that theory went out the window so fast. So here is, I'm going to push our faces to the side. All right, so here's our roster. We spoke about Conan, right? Pull up our boy here.
Oh, he's points. A rookie, too. I didn't even realize that Conan was also a rookie.
Yes. The 0 season experience. So we had a theory early on after that first week, and it was, hey, what if we, after we had Conan, we said, what if we got 5 guys that were unplayed and had 1 season or less, and we put them on a team and we make them our feeder team? That was what I really wanted to do. And we called them you know what? I'll show it to you guys while you're here. I don't know if you saw it on social, but it's our Protectors of the Kingdom. So
nice.
They all got their superhero names. All right. We had Gambit, we got Aquaman in there and all that. And it was really a test, right? With these guys having 0 experience. Well, we end up getting Matt Murdock as our center. And I'm going to pull him up so you guys can see after his first week.
Isn't Matt Murdock Daredevil?
Yeah.
Man can't see and he's still getting buckets for you guys. That's impressive, man.
That's the best part about it, right? They're like, dude, he's Daredevil. He can't see. I was like, and he's still grabbing boards all day long. So here's Matt
that's
Murdock.
in the air too. Wow, he is good.
So, we really feel we hit on about 3 of the 5 guys that had that 0 game experience in that test run. I feel like we may have shared that news because after we were talking about on social, like ones that we were looking at eyeing that had 0 games were snagged left and right. We were like, oh man, people are starting to catch on. Do you guys still see a lot of players that are on teams that haven't played any games at all yet? Do you know, John?
I haven't checked the numbers in a while, but we have noticed that there are still a lot of packs that aren't opened. And so there are a lot of players that are still not played, obviously in those packs. But also I think one thing we've noticed definitely is the marketplace is pretty thin. Like it's really hard to find. I think there's really only a handful of the more popular play styles. And so that's also why we know that we have to figure out a way to sell some more packs and get some more players out there. But I don't remember the exact numbers.
I think we have about 3,000 players who these numbers could be completely wrong. So, but the last I checked the dashboard, I think we had about 3,000 players who were still locked up in packs. Hadn't ever been opened yet. Nobody knows where they are even, or seeing the court. So that there's at least 3,000, and those are all potentially like diamonds in the rough at this point.
Right. Were you guys shocked to see how quick the packs jumped in price and value? Like I felt like it was overnight, right? Like it was like boom, and then all of a sudden it was like for 20 SOL you can have a pack. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't afford a pack.
Well, we minted them. I mean, at mint we minted at 1.5 SOL.
Yeah.
For these packs of 7 players. That our original idea was like we want the VBA to be for everybody. Like we wanted to set this price affordable where you get a pack of 7 and you can just go with your baseline and then make roster moves from there to get what you wanted as your squad. And I think something that I knew was true, but I didn't fully appreciate was, a lot of people are in NFTs and Web3 because they're collectors. Like they just want to collect this thing. And this group of people who, hold on to this pack of unopened VBA cards, just like they would like an unopened pack of like basketball cards or Pokemon cards. That segment is like very well and strong in the VBA, and that they've seen the value of those assets increase over time because of it.
Is there any scenario where we'll see some sort of new packs come out to market?
100%. So when we minted, we said that there would be another 14,000 players coming out by the end of the season. So we're partway through season 0, and we're seeing the market now where I think I was looking at it today and it was like across rare, elite, and rare, elite, and legendary players, there's like 10 listed, right? Yeah. And it's all like defensive guards. Not to hate on defensive guards, but I know they're kind of a meme right now, but they're all defensive guards. And so for folks who want to come in and build like a competitive squad, it's really hard for those people to come in the community. And so like John and I and a lot of the core team have just been like, okay, like what is the fair, what is like a sustainable mechanism to release more players so that people can have like the teams that they want.
Awesome. Yeah, because I mean we're constantly looking. We're like, all right, so I want a pack. I just want to be able to rip it, right? I just want to see what do we get in there. We purchased this guy last week. It's our Puerto Rican Kobe Bryant. It's called Papi Mamba Chulo.
You guys have some nice pieces on your teams. The 3 guys you showed me, are these your 3 best guys? Because they look they're solid players.
Yeah, these are the ones that made it to our what we originally started as our main team. And then with the other teams starting to perform really well, we decided, you know what, there's not a hierarchy. We want to go with best fits, who works together, and still make the Jesters still kind of our feeder team, even though they're 5-0. So we decided there is no hierarchy, right? It's just all Knights of Degen teams. Let's figure out the best way for us to go. But yeah, Papi, I think, was our first elite So we were really happy about that. And we thought he fit exactly what we needed as the missing piece. Then we got Dutch. Dutch is our boy, man. Numbers
Dutch is
not
nice.
bad at all. Yeah.
Dutch is
It was
nice.
funny when we looked at him the
go
first
ahead.
time, he had 40 points as a center, and we're like, all right, that's weird. So we were like, let's give him a shot.
Yeah, I think B Town or somebody in the community was mentioning that the fundamental big who can play small forward is a really nice player to have on your team.
Yeah, dude's
I won't talk more
beast.
about it, but I started playing with it after B-Town mentioned it as well, and I've started to like playing a fundamental big at small forward as well. I think I played one at lunch today, and the guy started the game like 12 for 12, and I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Just know my pad is over here, and I'm making sure to take all the notes that you guys are dropping. All right.
By the way, the notes that I'm sharing are I'm just sharing observations for me as a fellow player of the game. Do not take anything that I say as truth for the.
And what I tell you, my wife's already in the chat. There it goes. Work. All right. She's on to me. I think we went through all these guys, right? Oh, and then we got Branch McCracken. Yeah.
Can I ask you if you have a favorite like play style or Jigga Man?
So obviously for me, my favorite player is Conan O'Duncan, right? So as far as the player goes, that's the guy I'm totally in on. But I really am big on the fundamental bigs. I feel like the ones that we've grabbed and put on any team have kind of performed well for us. But man, this right here is the one that makes me question that theory, is that post-scoring big with Matt Murdock. Because, I mean, just a stud for us, you know? But I think we have a post-scoring big on one of the other teams that doesn't do as well. So then I'm like, all right, I hate post-scoring bigs, right? So I really don't know the best way.
How's the efficiency on your other post-scoring big? Because most I've seen are pretty efficient, but curious to see that other one.
Yeah.
Well, this is where the mechanism by which the players like receive their attributes becomes interesting, right? I'll just share because I think we shared it earlier, but I'll just share it again. Basically, right, is each player has a position as well as a play style, or as a position and a rarity to start, right? So, Conan O'Duncan was basically point guard, shooting guard, rarity, right? Afterwards, we have these 15 different play styles, right, ranging from pass first guard to versatile forward to like fundamental big, and these were largely inspired by the team's like favorite basketball players. We did like the superstar version and the poor man's version, basically, right? So you can imagine fundamental big, like the superstar version of that is Tim Duncan. I forget who the poor man's version of it is, but you could sort of fill in the blanks from there. Like playmaking big, like the superstar version was Jokic. The poor man's version of that was like Mason Plumlee, or like one of the Plumlee brothers, right?
Right.
And from there, basically, we take into account then the play style and the rarity, and across like 25 different attributes, from like inside scoring to defense to interior defense to blocks to free throw percentage, these players would be assigned an attribute. And the higher rarity a player is, the higher likelihood that they would be on the higher end of the spectrum. But there was no guarantee that would be the case. And so that's why we have this really fun discovery element of almost this meta of, you know, you can buy with pretty fair certainty that like an elite or legendary player is going to be pretty good just because the probability is there. But there's been a lot of discussion, especially from some of like the stats guys in the community, that it's very interesting when you find these like undervalued players, right? Like there are these underdogs in these specials who just tend to outperform the others. And those are the ones who really make the salary cap work, because the salary cap rules in place. You can't just pay to win. And so there's been a lot of this, like, okay, like how can I find not necessarily the best legendary or elite player, but how can I find this like diamond in the rough at the underdog or special level that really makes the team composition and salary cap work?
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's been so much fun for us, though. Like, I love that, right? I mean, when we took the chances on all those underdogs and unplayed guys, it was like, and the committee, of course, was like, you're just thinking about content. You want to do this Kingdom of the Protectors. They're like, all right, well, let him have his way. Go ahead and do it, But, I look at that, and realistically, I mean, we got that whole team for about 5 soul.
Yeah.
To then get a guy like, to get a guy like Matt Murdock to come out of it, or we got Remy Gambit, who is like killing it at point guard. So it's like, the theory for us worked, and the fun of not knowing what the heck these guys was going to do was amazing. I guess the question I have for you guys is, like, I look at guys on the market, and it's like, you look at their numbers and everything. Does it take into account, if I bought this guy and I move him to my team and he just doesn't fit the chemistry of the other ones, that it's irrelevant what his number was when I bought him?
Yeah, so that matters. I'll say 2 things I think matter, and I think it's hard to capture these fully on at least our player profile right now, but there might be some tools that people have built that help support this. But one is composition really matters, right? So if you play 5 slashers and one of your slashers isn't scoring, it's probably because you have 5 dudes doing the exact same thing. So there's a chance where like somebody's stats might be artificially deflated or artificially inflated. Right, because they could just be in a situation where they're the only scoring option,
right?
And they're the one who's getting the rock all the time, and so their stats look better. So there's something to consider there as a GM, right? Is let me look at his previous situation, take a look and see, like, was he set up for failure, was he set up for success, and learn from there. And the second thing here as well is what we're noticing, and this is kind of cool, is the meta at each competitive league is different. Like, the competitive folks are changing their lineups like every single game. They're like studying the past like 5 or 10 games, and like there's a lot of like interior defense, right? Because those folks are playing like rim protectors in most games.
Right.
So the slashers, the post scoring bigs, the fundamental bigs aren't doing as well. I think at like the intermediate and like the recreational levels, we're seeing different sort of behavior happen around the GMs, and it's been kind of fun to see that as well. So that's also something to keep in mind is, when this player was putting up these numbers, which league was he in? And then what situation was he in as well?
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure the homework I'm doing makes sense. All right. So yeah. My boy, Jose Ruckus, is in the chat. What's up, Jose? So he said, are they aware of the Sugar Davis, the busted character who can't lose? So quick story for you guys behind. Pull him up.
I'm going to pull him up.
So the big story here is Zook wanted this guy really bad. We got him for the team. He named him Shug Davis. I hated the name because it just doesn't fit the character. Well, Shug hasn't lost a game on any team that he's been on since we acquired him. So now It's rubbed in my face at all times. So here's our Steeds of Degen. So you know what? I just went to Eddie. Let me go to Shug.
3.6 points per game.
Shug is not scoring. We don't want him shooting at all. Shug is making sure that the rebounds and assists are there for us. There's Shug.
This is the Draymond Green.
Yeah.
This is the Draymond Green special.
He's doing this the whole time. So it's, again, we tried all the different scenarios with him, right? And just found that he worked with this squad really well. But you asked me to pull up the other. So we have 3 different post-scoring bigs. Here's the other one that I really enjoy is the Big Show.
A little bit less efficient than the last one, but still solid.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been
Takes
on a lot
of shots. A little bit of a ball hog, I guess.
Yeah.
That's definitely a factor.
See, you can see here actually in that 2-game stint he had with Smup 8. Smup is like the whale of the VBA. This guy has, I think at one point Smup had like 100 teams. He's really tuned them down a little bit, but you can see he had that 23% field goal percentage on that team, and you can say, okay, like he was probably just set up not for success on that squad.
Yeah, you see, and that's such a big play for us when we're having these meetings and we're looking at players. It's like, okay, you really got to look at them and not just pay attention to what the numbers on top say, because look at where they were, who were they with. But I love, I got to say, I love that aspect that you guys tied into this, because, you could have easily just been like, okay, here, he's great because these are his numbers and he'll be that great wherever he goes. So I love the fact that that's not the case. So well done, Gentlemen, well done. I love it. How you doing? Here's
Thank you.
Eddie
That's a huge
Cheese.
shout out
Right on.
to our CTO John Woo, who built a lot of the core game engine, and then Scott, who also the two of them built a lot of the core game engine.
So
shout out to them. Shout out to them whenever you see them in the Discord.
Good job, guys. So I know you guys, we had the Twitter spaces the other day. Conan went and listened and reported back to us and everything and told us what was going on. But for those that weren't in there, and again, not trying to get any spoilers out of you unless you want to throw anything, but what are some of the upcoming updates that, we can look forward to with the game itself?
You want to share one each, John? You know mine already. So I've been talking about this for a while now. Like, paid leagues was just like an early test for us, in that like something that I always wanted us to have, right, is to take the best parts of fantasy sports in this lightweight format for people to play. And lightweight, and the paid leagues basically allows us to say, like, okay, let's test this. Like, will people, put money on their team, basically put their money where their mouth is, basically, to support their teams, and also set up that infrastructure in place so that in the future we can scale this out to a bunch of different variety of formats. And so the two things that like I'm most excited about are, one is a full lobby system to come out where there's just a variety of different game modes. So it won't just be like a round robin group, but you can imagine like winner take all king of the hill formats. You can imagine with like a different scoring format, perhaps, that not necessarily off of like just total points scored, but perhaps other things as well. We have a lot of, I won't spoil all these, but we have a bunch of game modes planned to come out for over time there. And then second off is something that we really wanted to make happen is just the spectrum of variety for folks to not just always play the 18,000 because it's just sort of fixed in the middle, but allow for that upper end for somebody who wants to play the 5 legendaries that they have stacked across their teams, to say, let's get them all together in the same squad. What does a super team look like against other super teams? And what does a league of all like underdogs look like? And we can really start to see this like separation across like, a perfect fit for people. So it's the game modes that I'm most excited about. And then just the diversity of like salary caps that we can really allow people to really find their place and where they can have an edge as an individual.
Nice. And before you give me yours, John, I will say, Charles, the minute you guys did the whole buy-in thing, it was a no-brainer. I mean, Knights of Degen, we're Degens, right? So we were all over that. We were like, bet every single one, every team, let's bet and everything. So we love that.
So soon that'll become a daily thing. That's going to become a daily thing eventually, where it's just like daily games. And, this is where like I think part of the inspiration from DFS and fantasy comes from, right? Is the advantage of us building this product is, one is we're not necessarily tied to the NBA season anymore. So you can play anytime, anywhere you want with your team. Right. And then two is it's not necessarily like a PvE experience anymore, right? Where you're just slotted against 10,000 teams picking from like the same 400 players, but it's also like PvP where you can actually say like, John, I want to challenge your team and play against you, or I want to challenge you and the Knights of Degen team specifically. And so you add this extra element of like competition to it that feels more like PvP-esque.
Is there a world, obviously in the future, that you can see, like, say, if the Knights of Degen want to have a tournament of, 12 teams that all go, or, 24 teams in a league, that we would be able to set something up like that and have like our own tournament kind of thing running?
I think absolutely. I think custom leagues and I think custom tournaments would both be something that I'd be excited about building in the future. It lends to this like Web3 identity of like, you want people to build on top of the platform that you create and open it up for other people to create fun things on top of.
Music to my ears. All right, John, give me a spoiler, John. Give me something.
So Charles described a lot of the, I guess, like forward-facing. Once you're already a user, once you already are, you're already interested in the VBA, you're already playing, you already have a team. Those are our plans around like that experience. If we go the other way, towards new users, this is something that all Web3 games kind of have a challenge around, which is how do you get your mom, right, or your brother or sister who's not really into crypto already, doesn't already have a wallet, how do you get them into the game? And it's really tough when the first step you have to take is, okay, I got to go set up this like Phantom wallet. I don't know what that is. I got to get Soul. I don't know what that is, and it's really tough. And so we also have some efforts towards creating a nice experience for people to learn the VBA without having to worry about all of those things, and then be able to try the game out, and really figure out what it's all about before you figure out if you want to go through the extra steps. And so, of course, that's something that the entire industry is trying to figure out and do better at. But we do have quite a large project that is going on right now around that experience. And so, essentially, I don't know how far I should go down this line. Charles,
up to you,
but,
man. This is your baby. So I'm happy to let you share what you like.
Keep going. No, John, it's okay.
So I guess what I'll say is along those lines, right? We do want you to be able to play the game for free without having to purchase an NFT. And so obviously we'll have to create some form of a player that maybe it's temporary, maybe it's off-chain, maybe it's a player that you can play, but maybe you don't get rewards. Some sort of different kind of level of experience where people that just want to learn the game, play for fun, see what it's all about, can have fun and see if they want to take that next step to go purchase an NFT or join our paid modes or whatever it is. And so filling out that part of the experience is something that we're really focused on right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. It's a smart play, right? There's so many in the Web 2 world that still don't understand what we've got going on here. So having that play in there, I don't see that ever being a downside. It's a way to build the ecosystem, bring more people in. And, Matt Murdock is dying to beat more people. So I am okay with that. But before we end, I did have like one or two other ones. If you guys don't mind ask just a couple more questions.
Sure.
Of course, man.
So, and again, if it's ones that we can't answer now, that's fine. But one that's really been on my mind, I'm always talking with the guys, is seasons now are 1 week, right? In season 0. Is that how the format will continue to stay, or will seasons become longer to where there would be like a 4 weeks equals a season? Like, what are the plans there?
Yeah. First off, thank you so much for the kind words. Mrs. Porto. I don't know if that I'm calling her correctly, but anyways, thank you so much for the kind words. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad she's watching. She's not going to yell at me anymore. All right. About my VBA calls from 11 to 1 a.m. Okay.
The way that I would actually frame seasons versus the weekly schedule right now is, I think what'll happen is a season is accumulation of multiple weeks. And so the way that I view season 0 right now is that each of these weeks is you working for a spot on a leaderboard towards potentially like an end of year tournament, but let's just say, right? And that'll be really like the culmination of an entire season. The weekly leagues then would then become, and when the lobby comes out, like something that you can register for each week and say, I want to be a part of a weekly league. I want to be part of like a daily tournament. I want to be a part of a King of the Hill event. And obviously, because the players are yours, you pick whatever ones you want. But I love the format of basically having this weekly structure where you're going to be a part of a group, akin to basically having like a weekly fantasy group. And then on top of that, basically climbing this leaderboard towards like an end of season award. In terms of how long that period will be, season 0 is the alpha. So obviously I think we've been live now for about 10 weeks. This season will likely stretch to be longer than that as we work out a lot of the core product. And then the beta will also be a little bit longer as well. But then afterwards, we hope to be on some sort of regular cadence where there's some predictability in, how long these seasons are and how often there are championships and how often there are those like larger, like higher stakes events.
Awesome.
I know that part of the implication there is how we handle the seasons of experience piece that all players have in their profile. And
right.
And we haven't solidified exactly how that's going to work, but we have some loose plans there. And of course, the length of those seasons eventually will have implications on that too. So we're considering all of those that Charles mentioned and also that piece too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, so I'll end it on this, guys. I'll drop one of our own spoilers around this since you've both been here and helping me drop some spoilers from your end. We plan on building our new show called Alley Oop tonight. And we're going to have news coverage around our VBA teams. But we want to make it
Nice.
really like you're watching ESPN and watching some real teams. So we'll be announcing the launch of that. It's going to go hand in hand with the full basketball slate of shows that we're going to be doing. So as soon as that date is on, this is me doing the whole, haha, you're on camera. It's a binding contract. If you agree, opening game, opening episode, I get you guys back to come hang out with us and be our first guest on Alley Oop tonight.
I 100% down. And as a side note, we might have something that might be a really great kickoff moment for you guys in the works. Maybe I'll DM you at some point later about this, and we can talk about it offline. But I think that could actually be a fantastic moment for us to collaborate and launch.
Love
the
it.
The ESPN of the VBA, because that's something that I've always been really excited about as well.
That's it. I want to hit the stop stream button. DM me now. Let's go. Let's
I gotta check with Jeff first on what I can.
Man, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Knights of Degen, I know I speak for pretty much our whole committee and our community. That everybody's in there 3 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They're in the voice chat. They're in the VBA dedicated Discord room that we created. Everybody's watching the games. We are big supporters of what you guys are doing, and we can't wait to see just the progression of what's going on. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And Charles, I'll be waiting for that DM, bro.
For sure, man. Thank you so much. And next time we're on here, maybe we got to buy some Knights of Degen on our side as well.
More things for us to DM about.
We'll talk about. You can help me pick one out, man.
That's perfect. Let's make that happen. John, later, bro. Charles, Thank you guys. Everybody in the chat.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, man. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you hanging out. We're 2 minutes out. We've got Pickle Juice about to go live with Zook. And we also have Jack Settleman and Clay are about to do their live Knights Fantasy Football League draft. Go, Twitch, YouTube shows, nonstop, everywhere. VBA, Knights of Degen. We're out.